So in the last class, we had completed verse number 39. You just read that. Shraddhavan labhate jnanam tatparah samyatendriyah jnanam ladva param shantim achirenadhigacchati. So we had seen this verse in the last class. One who has Shraddha or faith in the Shastra and in the words of the teacher, who is committed, who has mastered his senses, gains this knowledge, and thereby he gains permanent absolute peace. Or in other words, such a person gains moksha. So this is what we had seen in the last class. So now we'll move on to the 40th verse. So we are almost in the last 3 verses of the 4th chapter. So we will complete the 4th chapter today, and Krishna is just winding up this particular discourse that he is giving to Arjuna. With these last 3 verses, he is just going to wind up this subject, and in the next chapter he will be talking further. So let us now read verse number 40. Agyascha ashraddhanascha samshayatma vinashyati nayam lokesti na paro nasukham samshayatmanah. So, having told about the positive things, now Krishna is going to talk about the negative things which prevent one from gaining this knowledge or from gaining moksha. So he has mentioned 3 things which is an hindrance, or 3 negative traits which are not good for gaining moksha, you can say. The first one is ajnanam, ignorance. The second one is ashraddha, or not having faith. And here when he says not having faith in the Shastras. And the third one is having doubts. So among these 3, which is the worst trait one can have? That is what he is going to tell now. So ignorance can mean ignorance even of worldly things, because we cannot live in ignorance if we want to survive in this world. Forget about ignorance of the self, but ignorance of the worldly things that we need to survive. So basic things we need to know. So without which survival is difficult in day-to-day things itself. So one should have minimum knowledge of basic things at least. So there could be a person who is not so knowledgeable about day-to-day things also. He could be ignorant, which will make it difficult for him to attain anything in this world. But this same person may have Shraddha. He may have faith in the Shastras, and if he follows all the requirements that are mentioned in the Shastras, he may not gain worldly pleasures, but after death he may get Paraloka Sukham, because of all the deeds that he has done, followed the Shastras, and maybe did some religious activities and so on and so forth, which might have given him a lot of punya. Thereby he may get a lot of sukham in other lokas. maybe he may go to Swargaloka and enjoy, but of course he may have to come back after he's exhausted that, but at least he may get Paraloka Sukha. There could be a second type of person who is well versed in all the worldly things, but he may say, oh, all this is nonsense, all these shastras and other things, I don't believe in all these things, I believe in myself, I can do anything, and I believe in enjoying in this world. So there are a lot of people like that. So people who have achieved a lot of things because they are very knowledgeable in worldly things, and they are able to use that knowledge for material benefits, and they enjoy those benefits. So they are not worried about the next janma. So they are, or what will happen in the next loka, what kind of loka they will go, whether they will have some sukham there or not, they are not worried. But they are enjoying here. So whatever, with the knowledge that they have, they are able to use that effectively for sensual enjoyment. So they are able to just fulfill all their worldly pleasures. So this is the second type of person. They may not have any interest in the Shastras, and they may even make fun of people who follow the Shastras. We find such people are there, a lot of people are there who do that. But they enjoy the life. So they can say, I am enjoying my life, I don't need all these things. Good. So there is the second type of person. The third category is the one who doubts everything. He doubts the knowledge also, he doubts the Shastras also. So we might have seen a lot of this doubting Thomases, as we call them. So everything, whether this is correct or that is correct. So they may, in fact, without trusting or having faith in anything, we cannot survive. If you don't have faith, like for example, you are employing servants, if you don't have faith in them, you will always be behind them. Always your mind is doubting whether that fellow will steal or whether they will work properly or not. You sit in a car, you are doubting whether that driver will drive or not. You will do all the backseat driving. So you might have seen a lot of people like this. So these are all traits which we see in some of the people around, and some of us also may have these traits. It is not that we are free from all these traits. So some of us also may have all these traits or some of these traits. So we don't have, some people don't have faith in neither the worldly things nor the Shastras. So Krishna says these people are the worst because they neither enjoy in this world nor they are going to enjoy anything in other worlds. So the doubting Thomases are the ones who is criticizing in this particular verse. So if you have all these, if you have knowledge, you have full faith, Shraddha in the Shastras, and you have no doubts, that is the best combination you can have. And if not, at least one category where you are ignorant about worldly things, but you have faith in the Shastras, at least you will get Paraloka Sukha. And the one who has no faith in Shastras but is well versed with worldly things, he enjoys the sensual pleasures that are there in this world. But the one who doubts everything, he is neither going to enjoy here nor going to enjoy there. So always anything they do, so the moment they go out of the house, they will think, did I lock the door properly? Did I leave the key in the lock? Did I switch off the gas? Did I switch off the geyser or switch or whatever? So all of us have part of these traits. It is not that, But when it extends to other things and you don't have Shraddha also, then you're not heading anywhere. You're neither going to enjoy this life, nor you're going to have any better lokas. You may not go to better lokas. Again, you are going to come back to this loka and go through all this over again. So, the worst trait one can have is the doubting mind, which is not going to take that person anywhere. So this is what Krishna is trying to convey in this verse. Now let us read verse number 41. Yoga samyasta karmanam jnana sanchinya samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibandhanti dhananjaya. So Krishna says, O Arjuna, Dhananjaya, actions do not bind the one who has renounced all action through yoga or knowledge, whose doubts have been completely removed by knowledge, who doesn't have any doubts at all. So, for such a person, the actions don't bind. So, knowledge happens through a process which is Shravanam, Mananam and Nitidhyasanam. Shravanam is receiving the knowledge. So you listen. So only through listening you gain the knowledge. Then through Mananam you gain conviction. Because the idea is to convince yourself, not others. Because most of us try to convince others. This is right or that is wrong. So we feel we know better. So we are trying to, without being convinced ourselves. So conviction happens only by Mananam. That is absorbing that knowledge. So Shravanam and Mananam go together. Because as you listen, you also absorb partly. Again you keep on listening. That is why repeated listening and then going through, we may write notes or we may record or do whatever. So, but repeated listening followed by Mananam, which is absorbing the knowledge by constantly keeping in touch with the knowledge, you can say. Because we listen, at that time we think we understand, but after some time we forget, oh, was it this or was it that? So unless we follow it up, like even in school or college also, what we learn in the class, what we listen, what the teacher says, if we are able to again go home and then just go through whatever our notes or whatever, even once if you do, the knowledge stays there. Otherwise, within a day or two, we forget whatever we have studied. And this knowledge is much more higher knowledge. So this requires constant, even the knowledge that we gain in schools or colleges also, each one of us may have done in a different way. Our understanding may be different because of maybe some people, they are very, very meticulous. Like I said, you attend the class, then you go back home and then read the notes once again. You are able to remember and reproduce in the exams, which is what is required for our day-to-day functioning. Now here this knowledge is a much more deeper knowledge. So it requires constant listening. So Shravanam and Mananam, they go together. Because as you listen, you also absorb a little. But that will not be enough. You can say that is not enough. You need to keep on listening. So there is nothing like, even in any field, even music they say, especially classical music, only by constant listening you will be able to perform also. I think Bhagyashree just attended a music class, so she will know better. So they say Kelvi Jnanam is most important, because all the good musicians, they listen to a lot of music, and that stays. So when they start performing, they start singing or playing, then that will help them to perform better. So, but in today's generation, everything they want fast. So they are not interested in listening, they are interested in doing. So that is why they don't have that depth. So similarly, Shravanam and Mananam, and followed by what is called as Nitidhyasanam, which is putting that knowledge into practice. So ultimately, all the knowledge that we gain through this, it should be useful in terms of reaching the ultimate goal that we are all seeking. So Nitidhyasanam, so you meditate upon this knowledge and then you start using that knowledge, because again, all this knowledge of, we are taking notes, we are recording, and then it is useful for Mananam. But the more you listen, the more you start applying those. So you should be aware. So the mind should be aware of the situation and where to use the knowledge. So all these three things ensure that you are moving towards that goal. So Shravanam, Mananam, Nitidhyasanam. There is no other way. So knowledge, first you have Shraddha in the Shastras and in the words of the Guru. With that, when you approach, you listen and you then absorb that knowledge, and then you remove all the doubts. So that is why in our tradition also, it is encouraged, people are encouraged to ask doubts, because unless you are convinced deep within, don't accept anything. But don't start with ashraddha or saying that, oh, this may not work. If we go with that attitude, then there is no point in moving forward. So you go with full shraddha, listen, absorb, clear all your doubts. So a person who does that, he is free from all the karmas, because once you have got the knowledge firmly entrenched in your mind, you are aware of it at any point in time. That means you know that any action that you do doesn't bind you. So your actions will be to continue. So whatever action you do, because as long as you continue to exist in this body, actions will happen. But once the knowledge is firmly entrenched, you will know that you are not the doer. So once that always is there at the back of mind, your actions will be dictated by that. So the ultimate goal is achieved. So this is what Krishna conveyed in this verse. Now we are coming to the last verse of this chapter, the 41st verse, the 42nd verse. Tasmad jnana sambhutam hitsam ज्ञानसिनात्मनः चिद्वैनं संशयं योगम् आतिष्ठोत्तिष्ठ भारत. So finally Krishna is advising Arjuna in this last verse of this chapter. He is advising Arjuna, O Arjuna, with the sword of knowledge you kill all the doubts. All the doubts are born of ignorance. So the only way you can kill this ignorance is using the sword of knowledge, which is deeply rooted. So all the doubts have to be removed completely, and get up and do karma yoga. That means do your duty. So get up, take up your weapons and get into the battle. Because again and again, everywhere it is repeated, two things, karma yoga and jnana yoga. Karma yoga and jnana yoga. So without karma yoga, if you go to jnana yoga, your doubts will never be cleared. So a lot of people, they feel they can directly go to jnana yoga, and they find that their mind is not ready. You may understand whatever is being taught, but because your mind is not ready, none of that is going to remain in your mind for long, because the mind has to be purified. Like if you want to sow something, first you prepare the ground, then you put the seeds. Because if you put the seeds without preparing the ground, either it will not grow or it will not grow in the proper way. So first you prepare the ground. So karma yoga is the preparation for the ground for knowledge to germinate in the mind. And karma yoga means doing your duty. So Arjuna's duty is to do the job of a Kshatriya. Against adharma he has to fight, whether there is uncles or grandfather or cousins, whoever, it doesn't matter. His job is to fight at this moment. So he cannot ignore that. So he was trying to go directly. He wanted to take sannyasa, as you know, in the first chapter in Arjuna Vishada Yoga. He was trying to convince Krishna that he wanted to get away from the battlefield. So Krishna is telling him, do karma yoga, do your duty, don't shy away from that, because as a Kshatriya you are supposed to fight. Whoever be the enemy, doesn't matter, whether they are your own kith and kin, doesn't matter. You have to fight. So get up and do your duty, do your karma yoga. And when karma yoga, your mind gets purified, then automatically all the jnanam that I have given you will sit in your mind. So we cannot bypass karma yoga. Only through this process, karma yoga, jnana yoga. So both can go simultaneously. It's not that you wait for karma yoga to be over there's no particular point where it gets over. Now I can move to jnana yoga. Okay, if you are not able to gain knowledge in this life, by karma yoga your mind gets purified, and thereby your next janma you may be prepared from the beginning itself. But without karma yoga, if you proceed to jnana yoga, you are not going to gain much benefit. Of course, your mind will be purified, which is a great benefit, because first thing is to purify the mind and then gain the knowledge which will give you moksha. So this is the last verse of this chapter. So we have completed the fourth chapter. Om Tat Sat iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yogo Nama Chaturthayo Dhyayah. So we have completed 4 chapters. Each chapter by itself is complete if we are able to understand the gist of all this. You don't need to go further, but all of us, even very highly educated and very efficient person like Arjuna, had so many doubts, and he is going to continue to ask doubts. That is why there are another 14 chapters left. So if Arjuna could not understand after so much of advice given by Krishna, so definitely for us it's going to be, some of us may gain. It is not that we are lesser than Arjuna or more than Arjuna, but Arjuna's position was such, definitely he is ahead of most of us. So if such a person had so many doubts, definitely we are going to have many more doubts, which in the subsequent chapters Krishna is going to further give more knowledge about all these things. So we will continue with the 5th chapter from the next class.